Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 3rd, and today's episode is only going to cover Rocket Pool news because there's just too much stuff going on. But I'll do a double Ethereum episode tomorrow on Friday to make up for that. But today's episode is going to cover some issues that people are having with voting. We're going to be talking about the GMC's Treasury report. There's a whole lot of NodeSet updates to share as well, and the monthly raffle for September. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Right, so we're going to start here with this post from Rocknet. And this was this morning in governance thread saying, does anyone have any idea why these things are happening? At the bottom of the Grafana dashboard says no data for proposals or voting power. Snapshot shows an error when I try to vote. And this is the second line after the signaling session from Rocket Pool PDAO S. Unable to fetch latest voting information from snapshot.org, could not decode snapshot response, JSON cannot unmarshal, blah, blah, blah. So there's errors. Rocknet was getting this error and couldn't vote. Basically, he says, my signaling address is set. I voted post Houston OPIPs and I had data in Grafana not that long ago. And Halulu said, I don't know why it's happening, but it's not just you. And then the snapshot status in Viz shared the thing, and it seemed like everything was fine online. Other people were having the same issue, like Samus. And then Val tagged Nick, who, of course, is the team member involved with all the front end stuff and the voting and all that stuff. So Nick then replied a little while later, saying there's some issues. Vaka was having the issue, and Nick basically turned up, says, I opened a case with the snapshot team. The playgrounds run fine and the endpoint is up and hasn't had any downtime. I will keep you posted. And then 10 minutes later, he replies by saying a screenshot from an image saying, hi there, we've disabled the scoring API temporarily recently for your space because we've received a very large amount of requests. Any idea why these requests might be coming from? Do you have custom integration beside the white label? So they basically Snapshot saw that there were too many people kind of trying to, there was too much information being pulled from their APIs, and it was kind of performing a denial of service attack on their servers. And they were just like, yep, let's just stop this. So they kind of halted the whole of Rocket Pool's Snapshot stuff. And here Nick says, so there's temporarily disabled voting, which I've corrected, and voting should be available in 15 minutes. And then he tagged Halulu and Invis because they both work on Rocket Watch. Said, sorry for the ping, but we suspect the requests are Rocket Watch requests as they occur even when there are no proposals. And Halulu said, yeah, Rocket Watch regularly does pull the API so it can create voting events. So Nick said the Snapshot team will get back to me with more info and potential limits so we can work within them. But in the meantime, if you can adjust Rocket Watch so the requests are less frequent, it might be less likely to impact votes. And then Halulu said that Invis is probably asleep, so he won't be able to do that until the morning in Europe where he is. And then they have an open API, and then Halulu kind of had this realization that if you can do that to the Rocket Pool's vote, then you can potentially, denial of service any snapshot space. So yeah, there's some interesting ideas there. But Halulu then says that seems problematic. Maybe you can do an immunify bounty or something to make that happen. Because imagine if there's like some kind of Arbitrum vote. I think they use snapshots sometimes, and you can just denial of service the whole thing, and their governance can fail. So that would be bad. But this is Halulu said it sucks that it just shut down our voting because there are too many requests on an open API endpoint. And Nick says not ideal, but not sure about the circumstances. It may have just been automated protection and they can whitelist us from. So that kind of is where we stand. And now if we have a look at the votes, they're both up and running still. So they're all active and everything is okay now. And the both votes have reached quorum, and the tokenomics rework prelude sat at 0 is at 113% quorum, and Houston hotfix is at 126% quorum. And those, of course, have they're going to go through. Like, they're not for sure that will be the final result, but it's very likely. We still have some big voting delegates to vote, but I don't think there's enough there to really swing the vote. Because if we have a look at previous votes, they reached like 157% quorum, 157% quorum, 158% quorum, 163, 125, 125, 129, 122. So if we have a look at like the quorums reached, you can see that we're already kind of hitting a decent amount, so you're only going to get another 20 or 30% votes most likely, and that of course won't be enough to change the vote. So the only thing that will change these votes now is if some of the people who have voted already change their vote to a different option, and I can't really see that happening. So it looks like this is official. Okay, next we have this post from Schifrin, and this is on the Grants and Bounty forum page, and this is a treasury report for September 30th, and it was published on yesterday. So here Schifrin says that the funds at the start of the period were 58,919, and that's in RPL of course, and they had, the GMC had 4,529 inflows of RPL, payments 10,080 RPL was given out. Of course, that was because there was a lot of tokenomics rework stuff that was paid out, which was amazing. In terms of getting LUSD, 902 went towards that. The total outflows was just less than 11,000, and the funds at the end of the period were 52,465. So LUSD funds at the start were 116,000, inflows were 9,185, payments went out in LUSD were 43,916, and the funds at the end of that period were 81,389. So it says the GMC had another month of large expenses, with 25 community members being paid for tokenomics milestone A and 8 community members being paid for support work. So you can have a list of all the different people and how much they got paid. So that's pretty cool. And it says in round 16, the GMC reserved funding for these 2 large projects. So that's Cifrin for $150,000 and Alpha Growth for $60,000. And Schifrin says you can view all transactions, including inflows and outflows, on the treasury sheet. So that is really awesome. Thank you, Schifrin, for that update from the GMC. And like Schifrin said, you can go and have a look at this report to get information that you want. And then we had a little bit more update, a little bit more information from the GMC. So here Schifrin shared the event saying that the GMC town hall has been booked, and this is going to take place on Wednesday, the 9th of October at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be a GMC Discord event. So if you want to listen to this, then you can ask myself or Schifrin or any other GMC member to get access to the GMC server, and you can take part in the town hall there. The town hall is a really good occasion for to listen to the GMC members talking about what went well in the previous round, what they feel went badly in the previous round, and they will then share that information with you all. So you can also ask questions as well. So it's actually a really nice thing that the GMC does, and you're all welcome to attend and ask any questions you have of the GMC. Okay, next we got this transaction taking place on Haleshki, and this is a function execute on a contract, and I'm not very good at reading Etherscan, but I've been told that this is the deployment of the contract changes in RPIP 63, and that has now gone to testnet to kind of speed things up. However, this was kind of factoring into some other drama. So for the last few days, there's been this big discussion going on in the governance thread about what the team should and shouldn't do in terms of bringing up a new vote. Now, if we actually go back to the voting page and have a look at the RPIP 63, you'll see that a lot of people who voted here kind of left a comment. Like, so for me, it says, I'm not happy with the RPIP process for this vote, but this is necessary to patch bugs and get things ready for RPIP 62. Let's do it. Ramana abstained, saying, I agree with parts of this RPIP, but do not agree with it being a big bundle. Abstain for now. We'll reconsider if it's failing. Here, Noshua says that they voted against it, and that was because they're not happy with the governance process. There were some other comments here as well, saying this person voted for it, saying would likely vote for all these separately, but in the future no more bundled votes. Halu said not happy with the governance process, but voting for as moving forward with this is important for the protocol. Here Scuzzle voted against it as well, saying this RPIP is poor governance practice for reasons that I've already mentioned. Schifrin says bundling votes can be avoided and greater attention is being given to preventing in the future. And basically, there's a whole lot of controversy around this. People saying there should have been at least 2 votes, etc. So there were 2 main issues. The first one was that people didn't want this vote to be bundled, and the second one was that the team had already started working on the audit stuff and the fixes and changes before there was an RPIP ready, and there was a lot of tension in the community, and especially between Noshua and Langas about what should have been done and when it should have been done. And other people were just we're not happy with this, but we'll kind of tolerate it in this instance. And this actually happened with the Houston upgrade as well, where work on the upgrade started before the RPIPs were written. Now, if you have a look at RPIP 4, that's actually the wrong order of doing things. So basically, the last couple of days, I didn't really cover this in Rocket Fuel because it's just some it wasn't, I didn't think it was necessary to cover rocket fuel. It's such a niche topic. But Langas actually ended up saying that, the team going forward would only work on things after getting explicit communication from the community. And, the team won't be writing any more RPIPs, but they've already gotten some feedback that, hey, we do want you guys to write RPIPs, and that the team would basically only do the work that the community has outlined and voted on and passed. Now, that would be great from the perspective of making sure that, everything is going through according to governance. Of course, that is negative in some ways as well because it'll slow things down. But I think overall, that's a positive step. It's just a shame that it happened. Anyway, that's all backstory to this point now. So what happened is the RPIP 63 was put onto Haleshki, but Langas was like, I'm really sorry to stir this up, but there's a time-sensitive issue that I need to address. He said, we have deployed a hotfix code to the testnet before RPIP 63 has been ratified. Based on this conversation, I have no idea whether this is a mistake or not. I don't want to make an announcement and have it pointed out to me. I believe Kane can roll back the change, which we'll do in the coming days, unless I get confirmation from the DAO that this is acceptable. If we have a rollback, beta testing will not commence for another 2 weeks, keeping the mainnet release to the end, moving the mainnet release to the end of November. Please let me know. So we are in a tight window, basically, with RPIP 62 and RPIP 63. The reason for that is because we have the timing right. It's set up such that the contracts will be changed on October 24th, because that will give us the maximum amount of time to work with, get work done on rewards tree 10, which will go live in November. Now, if Langas didn't push this to testnet already, then what would have happened is we wouldn't have had the changes go live until basically too late in the process, and then it would just cause the mess, and everything would have been done after the following rewards period finished. You're pushing back everything a month, and of course in the middle the team is going to Thailand as well, so that of course would have delayed things in itself. But Langas was just saying, what do we think? And people started responding right away, saying that, this is fine, you did the right thing, it's okay. And if things go bad, you can roll it back. And the idea is, of course, the vote is going to pass. Pretty much 99.9% certain at this point that the vote is going to pass. So Valdov says, I think deploying on testnet is great. From current state, I think the best course is prepping for mainnet if the vote passes, which is fine. Scuzzle says the PDAO vote is going to pass. Since this would be delaying deployment to wait on the vote, I think you should continue to test and deploy on mainnet after it passes. Samus says if the vote fails, it could be rolled back later, right? So I don't see any harm in continuing with testnet. Doofa says yes, continue. And there was that as well. But this is an ongoing discussion. You guys can poke around the governance thread if you want, if you want to get more information on that. But I'm not going to really cover that too much more unless there's some big development. But that's kind of where we stand right now. Okay, next we're going to talk about NodeSet stuff for a while. There's a whole bunch of different things that I want to cover. So we're going to start with this first of all, where on the RPIP 62 thread, Wanda, who is one of the co-founders of NodeSet, and they're the creators of Constellation, had some feedback on this whole RPIP 62, RPIP 63 vote and the impact it will have on NodeSet. So Wanda says, here's how this impacts Constellation. He says, we expect but have not yet tested that zero RPL mini pools will work with Constellation's design. We do not design Constellation for these economics, and there may be some disconnect between user expectations if this proposal passes. For example, XRPL holders may reasonably claim that they have right to ETH flows based on the RPL they're providing, but Constellation does not support this. This is actually a really interesting point. So once RPIP62 is passed on mainnet, anyone can start an ETH-only validator, and you will get 10% commission for that from the RETH holders. However, if you want the 14% commission, what you have to do is include RPL on your stake. So that will give you an extra 4% if you have 10% collateral in RPL. Now, what you could argue is that 4% of ETH is really there because of the RPL holders and the RPL depositors. So maybe that ETH should go to the RPL holders. However, what Wander is saying here is that this is not going to be the case. However, with Saturn 1, this will be the case. And this next one is quite interesting. It says Constellation's temporary node operator bond will need to be increased from 1 ETH to 3.4 ETH because this proposal changes the scrub penalty from RPL to ETH. This will likely decrease the number of operators who can participate in Constellation. This is actually a really interesting point because what Wander is saying here is that the scrub penalty is changing from RPL as it currently stands, because if you set up a mini pool and you do it badly and you make mistakes which are deliberate, it's not a mistake really, it's like an attack of sorts, that will take away from your RPL that you deposit, not from the ETH. However, with RPIP63, that is being changed from RPL because you won't need to have RPL to ETH, and the consequence of that will be that that ETH will need to be punished if you do the bad stuff on the network. So in order to fix that now, Constellation are going to ask for a little bit more ETH from their node depositors, and that will be 3.4 ETH instead of 1 ETH. Now, this is actually quite a big deal because not everyone has 3.4 ETH, like, liquid lying around, but you'll need to have that in order to spin up NodeSet validators. Now, this is not a payment, it's just a temporary bond, and you basically put this forward into the protocol, and then once your validator is accepted, you will get that 3.4 ETH back, and it only takes between 12 and 24 hours to do that. Now, if you have any questions about that, definitely go to the NodeSet Discord. You can ask them, and I'm sure someone there will be happy to answer your questions. Now, Wander actually had some more personal stuff. He says that this proposal has benefits, but he thinks it's a net negative for Rocket Pool because it's impacting the security model in a negative way. He says he wished that Rocket Pool was ossified and had different versions, kind of like Uniswap and also Liquidity. So you have version 1, and then those contracts run forever, and then you have version 2, and those contracts will run forever, and version 3, and so on. And like Uniswap now is going to version 4, and even though Uniswap will be moving all the activity onto version 4, 1, 2, and 3 will run in perpetuity. In fact, on some forks of version 2 are still active out there in the world, so they're getting a lot of use as well. But he says that perhaps this, he says perhaps the TVL growth is going to be explosive and my descent is going to look foolish. Perhaps this doesn't change anything while adding existential risks, causing everything to fall apart. Perhaps this is much ado about nothing because there are no effects. Time will tell. And then next point Wander has was he says it sucks for builders to invest so much work, in our case years, only to have the economic model change drastically. I share Ramana's opinion that Rocket Pool needs to do a better job of working with rather than against builders. This is not the path to long-term success. So there was a reply here from Nashua, but then Halulus was replying to talking about the centralized entities in the ODAO kind of impacting how payments get paid out, and there was some feedback back in there as well, but that was kind of the end of that discussion on the forum so far. No one else has replied yet. And then here, this was kind of like an adjacent discussion that was taking place in the NodeSet Discord about the changes that are being made, and Wander was here explaining how the Constellation temporary bond will need to be increased, and he says, it makes 65% of your income dependent on the centralized failure-prone ODAO and their unaudited tree generation code they use. So I don't think Wander's happy with some of the changes. Lulu says, I don't see why I would require a higher temporary bond. It just shifts the risk that was already there from XRPL to XRETH. If you wanted to protect against it, you would need a higher bond either way. And Wanda says that XRETH is the primary user-facing product of Constellation, which is even more true if Rocket Pool is making the decision to de-emphasize the utility of RPL staking. XRPL was originally designed for users who want to take on the risks of Rocket Pool, specifically in return for higher issuance. If this proposal goes through, it removes the risk from XRPL. Our choice then is to 1. Add risk to XRETH, or 2. Increase temporary node operator bonds. We will always choose the option which de-risks our users, even if that means fewer node operators can participate. And then Lou says, if that's your stance, that's fine, but I don't understand how you could have expected XRPL deposits to keep up to provide 10% collateral if it was exposed to all the risk and paid a large commission to fund XRETH incentives. Doesn't seem like very appealing compared to Aave, for example. And then Wanda said, we're not in charge of fees incentives setting. That's Gravitar's job. That said, I believe their strategy is to have parameters set so the XRPL is always more attractive than RPL lending markets. Plus, if there's enough liquidity, then XRPL lending markets could develop as well. So yeah, that was a bit of a discussion back and forth. So if you want to read that as well, you can go to the NodeSet Discord. Overnight, Joe here had an update to the hyperdrive software that is going to be running Constellation, and this was updated to 1.1.0 beta 2. So there was just some tweaks and changes being made. He says it's really late over here, burned a lot of midnight oil, but I just had to get this out today because of scheduling issues. So I hope it works for everyone and solves everything. Need someone to approve that pull request though. So Joe basically puts out here. Then a few hours later, there was the announcement. Well, not even a few hours later, just a few minutes later, half an hour later, Joe put out the announcement of the release of the beta, the new beta, and telling you about what the issues are. So there's issues with Lodestar, and there's issues with Reth, and then there's some changes here like updated Geth, Reth, Nimbus, and Stakewise operator, and then more information here. So Papash made a report and other things as well. So if you are interested in reading that, you're welcome to go to their Discord and get that information. Later on in the day, however, there was this update from Wanda, and he says we're aware of an issue with the Constellation testnet, where after last night's Rocket Pool testnet upgrade, the Rocket Pool contract addresses have changed and mini pool creation is no longer possible on the Constellation testnet. We will need to upgrade the Constellation testnet to fix the issue. It's a very simple code fix which will mitigate this permanently as long as Rocket Pool's interfaces do not change, but we will need some time to prepare a contract upgrade. Please be patient while we sort this out. It will not be today. As for the technical explanation, the current Constellation testnet contracts cache the Rocket Pool addresses in initialization. This is more efficient based on the modern practice of using immutable proxy contracts, but Rocket Pool is an older protocol that doesn't use immutable proxies. We apologize for this oversight. It appears that none of our auditors or independent reviewers caught this, but fortunately it's a minor issue that has no security implementations. So as Wanda said, it's because Langer's pushed the change to testnet on the Rocket Pool side that then changed some information that kind of broke making new validators with Constellation, and they're going to have that fixed and ready to put out soon. Some people had their validators go through, but others I guess didn't, and I don't think that has been fixed yet, but it'll probably be fixed maybe on Friday or maybe on Monday. Okay, next there was this really interesting discussion that started in trading, and I know that you guys are here for staking news, so you might not be particularly interested in this, about it being the perspective of Rocket Poolers talking about EigenLayer and other staking protocols. But basically, Halulu said that Puffer Guy just said most of the AVS yield is going to be from Eigen token emissions. So this is actually really, really interesting, because what you have here is you have this protocol EigenLayer, and EigenLayer has been like hyping up these actively validated services, which is where you put your ETH stake on the line, and then you can do other services on top of EigenLayer and like verify other things. And for verifying these other things, you'll get paid. Now, what Puffer are saying is that the EigenLayer payments that they'll be expecting won't actually come from people paying for the AVS services that are being used, but they'll be paying from EigenLayer token emissions. So that's inflation of the EigenLayer token, and that is going to be used to pay people who are staking with AVSs. Now, that model sounds way less sustainable than other services paying node operators to perform these validation services, and it looks like there might be some kinks in the EigenLayer foundations here. So Nick said, of course that is. And I said, oh, how is this going to impact things? Nick says, Eigen and AVS token emissions, no AVS is producing revenue at any meaningful scale. So that's the crux of it. And Lou said, I wouldn't want to hold a token that's mostly meant to be inflated and dumped for rewards. And then people were laughing because that's the idea for the RPL token. So I think he was kind of like laughing. But Lou said, AVS tokens aren't surprising. I'm just surprised EigenLayer are going to use their own tokens for it. And Nick says they're also incentivizing operators with it. So you know that 100% will be insta-dumped. Operators are running these things at a loss without that. So they've got like $11 billion in TVL, but it seems like there might be some shortcomings to the EigenLayer model. But yeah, so here Nick's saying that it's kind of similar to Rocket Pool and the Saturn upgrade. So the near-term price action will be determined by the expectations of future growth. And of course, Rocket Pool will use its TVL to generate revenue, but EigenLayer is finding it hard to keep their TVL and keep their revenue. So there's going to be differences. And Lou said that the Rocket Pool actually doesn't have too much growth priced in at the moment, because we haven't really seen that in the charts. It's just been going down really. So that's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I just thought I'd cover this for you all because it looks like there's the EigenLayer maybe might not be as strong as people had thought it would be. And now I might be mistaken, Nick and Halula might be mistaken. So definitely go and do your own research. But yeah. Okay, next we are going to cover news from Lido land, and this is Dimi talking about the lists that they made for checking if you have access as an early node operator, and basically they had a list of like 34,000 addresses, and I was mentioning this on Rocket Fuel, I think yesterday or the day before, saying that they have so many addresses. I don't know where all these addresses have come from. Well, it seems like some of these addresses were not correct. And here Dimi says, thanks to Lido Finance and the Rocket Pool community, we have identified and fixed several issues in the lists. It says you can still check if you are on there. So what has happened is 14,000 addresses have been removed, and it's down now to somewhere around 20,000 addresses who are eligible for Lido's early staker program. So if you are on that list, then you can start the validators, but it's not permissionless. It's not open to everyone yet. It's only for people who are on that list. Okay, and some Ethereum news. Like I said, I'm not going to cover some Ethereum news, but I really like this website from Hani Abu. And Hani Abu is like really great at making these websites. So he says life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look at Ethereum adoption once in a while, you could miss it. So this is actually really, really great. I've actually covered this on Rocket Fuel before, but it's been a while since I've covered it, so I thought it'd be a really good idea to cover it. So this is literally just a list, and it says Ethereum adoption, a list of high-profile entities building on Ethereum. And this is so awesome because it like has a date breakdown, and then it tells you who's doing the building. So for example, on September 25th, we had PayPal Ethereum trading and external transfer for businesses. On September 18th, we had Wisdom Tree Real World Asset Platform. On September 18th, Google RPC Service. September 12th, Eve MMO on-chain applications. September 10th, PayPal ENS integration and Venmo integration, and Sony Sonium and Franklin Templeton and Fox Corporation Verified Protocol. I didn't even know about that. That's from June. And PayPal, blah, 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 whatever. And this is going all the way back to 2018. So this is an amazing resource. I think it's going to be more full going forwards than it is looking backwards, except for these like really standout things. But this is absolutely awesome that Hani Abu's working on this. I really hope that he can keep it going. There is a contribute button, so I guess if you want to, you can make changes to the GitHub, and then you can get that information. So that's really awesome. Okay, and I'm going to finish today's episode with the raffle for September. So Cheers was a little bit late getting the list to me, but we've got it all here now. So we have Samus all the way down to Suna 4, and that is 23 people made contributions this month. So it was a little bit slow in terms of contributions, but that's okay. We still put out some really great episodes and all the big stuff was covered. So what I do, as always, is I cover the copy and paste list into this tool made by Hippocrates, and I think Lido's going to give me an issue like he always does. So let me see if I can fix that before it causes issues anymore. And when I press go, it's going to spit out 10 names. If I am one of those 10 names, then I'm going to get skipped. Also, Cheers gets an automatic prize. So it's only the top 9 names that I'm going to be counting for the raffle. And I'll be getting prizes of $100 in LUSD. So let's have a look and see what's happening. So Ramana won, then me, so we skip me, then Destroyer, Sneaky Ninja Guy, Not You, Samus, Rocknet, Jasper the Friendly Ghost, and then we have Lee and Kevster. So Kevster at the moment, the way it stands, Kevster does not get a prize, but the others, Kevster does get a prize. Sorry, Kevster does get a prize. It's me who doesn't get a prize. So that'll be 9, and then the 10th is Cheers. So if your name is on that list, you will get $100 from me soon. I think most of these people are people who I've already reached out to. So hopefully it won't take that long to get you all money this time. But yeah, you'll be getting $100 each. So congratulations on winning Rocket Fuel's contributor raffle for September. I'm really behind on POAPs, so I need to get those sent out soon too. But on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely night ahead. I know this episode's coming out really late. So yeah, but on Friday's episode, I'm going to make it packed full of Ethereum news to catch up from the news that I missed today from Ethereum land. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all on Friday. Bye.